You want to know what's the most important slide when you are raising your seed round or your Series A round or beyond? It's the TAM slide, the total addressable market. You want to know what the most second important slide is? The one that really kills deals if you don't nail it right? It's your go-to-market slide. See, investors want to know if they were to give you that dollar or $1 million or $10 million, how are you going to turn that into $2 or $2 million or $20 million? They want to know what your go-to-market strategy is because there's so many different ways to go to market. And they want to know if this investment is actually going to yield a return. And one of the biggest clues they look for is if you know how to actually market and sell whatever you're building. So in this episode, I'm gonna walk you through the 3 principles you absolutely need to know to nail that go-to-market slide so that you can actually establish your go-to-market strategy, you can actually raise that next round of funding, and you can accelerate your path to the next stage of growth. Intro. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Unstoppable. I'm TK, and on this channel, I help SaaS founders like you grow your SaaS business faster with an unstoppable strategy. If you are new to this channel, be sure to hit the subscribe button and that bell icon. That way you'll get notified every single time I drop an episode like this with actionable strategies with the TK energy. If you are already part of my SaaS coaching programs, if you are part of this community already, welcome back. It's really awesome to see you over here. So I remember for our seed round, our go-to-market slide for ToutApp was to explain how we were nailing our PLG model. We were product-led growth, we were self-service, and we were really starting to dial that in. So our seed round was about, here's how we acquire customers using PLG. This was in 2011, we didn't call it PLG, we called it self-service. When we were raising our Series A, we had already dialed in on our PLG model, but we started to realize we could get bigger deals if we put some salespeople on it and bring on entire sales teams. So our go-to-market strategy deck had to show how we had the self-service PLG model locked down, and we were starting to get bigger and bigger deals using our sales-driven model. Both super important. And our Series A story was about, we're gonna nail this bigger sales teams and we wanna get every sales team in the world. So we would have to tell the story in the go-to-market slide in these 2 different fundraisers in very unique ways. But at the end of the day, I noticed as I pitched every investor, there were the same things they were looking for and the questions they really wanted answered. So that's how I developed these 3 principles around what you should put in your go-to-market slide. And by the time you watch this video, not only will you know how to have a really great go-to-market slide, you'll also know what are the critical components that goes into a proper go-to-market strategy that you should be building anyway to make a successful business, and that way you'll also get a successful fundraise. So if you're excited to dig into principle number 1, go ahead and smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm, and let's jump right into it. So the first thing you absolutely need to represent in your go-to-market slide is what is your ACV and sales cycle? What is your average contract value, and what is your sales cycle? So let me explain this a little bit more, because investors really want to understand what kind of sell is this. If you're doing product-led growth, then they want to understand, well, what's the average customer value? Like, how much are they signing up for? Is it a $99 a month product? Are they prepaying for the year and taking a 20% savings through the credit card? What is the scale and size of the deal? If it's sales-driven, and they want to know what your average deal size is. Is it a $50K deal or a $250K deal or a $1 million deal? They also want to know how long it takes to get deals done. What your average sales cycle is. By the way, both these examples are on opposite ends of the spectrum. At ToutApp, we had the $30 a month, just swipe the credit card model. And that's how we raised our seed round. And by the time our Series A came around, that was just humming. And we also had a 50 to 75K average deal size, 30-day to 45-day sales cycle, high velocity sales model. And we were starting to inch up towards enterprise. So we had different ways to go to market, and one was locked and the other one was being tweaked. So we had to communicate this, and investors want to understand what yours is. What is the model? They also want to know, but based on these 2 things, they'll start to understand, well, are they sales driven or marketing driven? They'll also want to know, are you doing like a high velocity mid-market sale, or are these big enterprise deals that take like a year to complete before you know if you're doing anything right? These are the big things that are going through their head, because as they're thinking about this, whether it's high velocity or enterprise sale, whether it's marketing driven or sales driven, they're starting to understand how expensive it's going to be to actually fund this company and fund the growth. Meaning, the reason PLG is so popular is if you're truly PLG driven, you just need to invest in marketing. You don't need to hire salespeople, which are way more expensive. And they're not profitable for the first 6 months because they have to be trained. So investors know that if you're PLG driven, you're probably going to be a more efficient go-to-market machine. Whereas if you are doing big enterprise deals, yeah, it's great, but man, there's a lot of risk and a lot of investment, upfront investment required to actually get that machine going. This is why it's super important as principle number 1, talk about your ACV and your sales cycle and explain it in a descriptive way so investors can start to understand, okay, cool, got it. These guys, these gals understand how to get a deal done, and they're going into this market segment with this type of deal, with this type of motion. Here's how much marketing is involved, here's how much sales is involved. You start to actually paint that picture, but you lead with the ACV and the sales cycle because this gives direct clues to the investors and creates their imagination on how they're gonna have to fund the growth. So that's principle number 1. Once you've done that, the big question in investors' minds is how efficient are you guys? Ultimately, companies with efficient go-to-market strategies, go-to-market machines, go-to-market motions win. Now, you can have a highly efficient, high-velocity, sales-driven model. It's possible. You can also have a highly efficient PLG model. At the same time, you can have highly inefficient PLG models and highly inefficient sales models. So it's not one or the other. And believe it or not, everyone's like, oh, it's got to be PLG. It doesn't have to be PLG because sometimes your buyer prefers to talk to a human. So you can be PLG all day long. They won't talk to you. They'll just go to your competitor because they want to talk to a salesperson. What the real goal is not whether you have salespeople or not have salespeople, not whether you're marketing driven or sales. It's about what your buyer wants, your audience, your target market, your market segment. What do they want? How do they buy? And how do you create an efficient go-to-market strategy to deliver that? This is why principle number 2 is you have to show your CAC, customer acquisition cost, and what your payback period is. Between these two, investors will start to understand how efficient your go-to-market is. Now, let's just say you're in the seed stage. If you're raising your seed round, then you may not have all of the data on exactly how much a customer costs because maybe you got it in all different ways. Explain that. Say like, look, we acquired our customers and got to this revenue through all these different channels. On a blended basis, the CAC is this, but we think we're gonna double down on this channel and the CAC will come down and it costs us this much to actually acquire a customer and this is how long it takes to make that money back from that customer, the payback period. What investors are really looking to understand is, have you thought about how do you actually acquire a customer? How much does it cost? How can you make it more efficient? And how do you actually make sure that you are actually reclaiming that money back as quickly as possible so that the customer starts to turn a profit? Now, you may not be profitable on the first customer purchase, although that's not impossible, but you at least have to understand how many months it takes before the customer does become profitable, because then the investors will start to understand, cool, how quickly can you reinvest that money back into growth if you are turning a profit and you are managing for the recurring revenue. So CAC is super important to communicating your go-to-market slide and to actually get them to think about like, okay, we're thinking about how do we actually make these customers profitable? How do we double down on the channels? It shows depth in your go-to-market strategy, and that's what investors really look for. Before I go to principle number 3, let me pause here for a second. Are you starting to see the power in this? There's two things going on here. On one hand, it's gonna help you think about what you need to have a successful go-to-market strategy that is efficient. Number 2 is also telling you how to communicate to investors that you're thinking deeply about it and you actually have a go-to-market strategy. This is why showing the ACV and the sales cycle, talking about the market segment you're going after, the motion is super powerful. Talking about the CAC you're seeing and how you're gonna drive that down and what opportunities there are and how quickly you make that money back is also super powerful. If you start to see the power in this, can I just get a yes in the comments below? Also smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm. It really, really likes it when you do that. Now, if you are in the stage where you're building out your go-to-market strategy, if you want an efficient go-to-market strategy, if you want a framework to follow to build your go-to-market strategy, then I encourage you to join my SaaS go-to-market coaching program. Inside of that, I give you the step-by-step training on exactly how to build a go-to-market strategy and execute on it. So I'll tell you more about it at the end of this video. Let's go to principle number 3. Principle number 3 is you also want to highlight your key channels. Here's the thing investors are really looking for in your go-to-market strategy slide. What they're really looking for is if you found your unfair distribution advantage yet. They want to know if you have an unfair distribution model. And that's what every great startup is seeking. They're looking to find what is our unfair way we can compete and actually acquire a lot of customers. The startups that look for that, the startups that optimize for that are the ones that win outsized rewards. So what they're really looking for is, have you tested the key channels? Have you actually started to figure out which channel works? Have you started to get an unfair advantage in one of the channels? So what they're really looking for is, where is your unique and unfair advantage in your go-to-market strategy? Maybe you got really good at doing outbound. Maybe you created this really unique strategic narrative and now you have an authority in the space and everyone loves you on LinkedIn. Maybe LinkedIn is not where your audience hangs out and they don't check their emails, so you've gotten really great at cold calling. Maybe they're all on Facebook, so Facebook ads linking to your manifesto and your lead magnet is converting really, really, really well. Every startup is seeking for that really great channel and really great unfair advantage. And once you nail that and you communicate that to the investors in the go-to-market slide, their eyes will widen, because they'll say, okay, got it. So you're telling me you guys understand your ACV and sales cycle. You understand how much it costs to acquire a customer. And you also have an unfair advantage. You've hacked one of these key channels and have gotten really great at it. Here's all my money. This is what investors are really looking for. And this is why this is the second most important slide in the pitch deck. The first one being the total addressable market, because they also want to know that if I give you a lot of money, is there enough market to go after? This is why the total addressable market needs to be huge. And that's why it's the most important slide in the deck. And the second most important slide is showing them through these key things, you actually know how to take their money, invest it in distribution, and get a lot of customers really fast. That's the power of the go-to-market slide. So to recap, let's recap these really quick. Number one, you want to highlight your ACV and sales cycle. This will actually open up the discussion around whether you're sales driven or marketing driven and what segment of the market you're going after. Then you want to talk about what your CAC is and what your payback period is. It starts talking about how efficient you are and what the opportunities on that are. And then number three, you want to talk about what are the key channels that you've developed and gotten really great at, and how are you going to get even better at it and develop your unfair advantage. Now, if you are building out your go-to-market strategy and you're tired of watching a billion pieces of videos and all the conflicting advice, then I invite you to join my SaaS go-to-market coaching program. Now, the coaching program is different than free videos. The free videos, I give you principles. I do my best to give you as much value as possible in 10 minutes. The coaching program is a full training program where I walk you through step by step the framework to follow to build your go-to-market strategy. We also meet every Wednesday where I answer your questions and coach you through the process. We also have one-on-one strategy sessions where we can dig into key things that you're doing and what's working and what's not. I work with you, alongside you, to help you build out that go-to-market strategy. That's the difference between just doing it on your own versus following a very well-defined framework. So if you're building a go-to-market strategy, you want to reduce your execution risk, you want a framework to follow, you actually want to work with someone that's been there, done that, then I invite you to check out my SaaS go-to-market coaching program. Just go to tkcater.com/GTM for all of the details. On that page, you'll get all the details on what the program entails. You'll be able to apply to join the program. Once you apply, we'll get on a phone call and we'll review where you are in the business, what your goals are, and if I can help you, I'll invite you into the program and you can make your decision. Just go to tkcater.com/GTM and I will see you on one of the calls. Also, if you got value from this video, go ahead and smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm. I drop a video like this 2 to 3 times a week with actionable strategies in growing your SaaS business. So if you're new here and you haven't subscribed, be sure to hit the subscribe button and that bell icon, so you'll get notified every single time I drop an episode. And lastly, remember, everyone needs a strategy for their life and their business. When you are with us, yours is going to be unstoppable. I'm TK, and I'll see you on our strategy call and also the next episode.